America's mainstream media is being accused of playing with fire for playing up the prospect of war between Iran and the West. It's a sensitive time with the military standoff in the Strait of Hormuz and looming sanctions over Iran's nuclear program. But as Gani Chichikan reports, viewers in the States are repeatedly hearing how war is virtually inescapable.
It's really two options: bomb Iran or let Iran get the bomb.
With tension between Iran and the West as high as ever, a host of hardline speakers on U.S. mainstream media seem to be pushing the audience to believe that war is inevitable.
The better way to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons is to attack its nuclear weapons program directly.
Although experts say war with Iran is far from being inevitable,
I don't think that we are there yet, that is to say, at the precipice.
The media are already preparing the grounds for it, some by misinforming the public. The New York Times wrote that the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran's nuclear program has a military objective. But that's not what the IAEA reported. The watchdog said Iran might have the technology to develop a nuclear weapon if it wants to. Or here's another public misconception due to a lack of information.
I would be saying to the Iranians, you either open up those facilities, you begin to dismantle them and make them available to inspectors, or we will degrade those facilities through airstrike.
In fact, IAEA inspectors have already been in the country monitoring Iran's nuclear facilities.
When the American people hear information over and over again, and sometimes it is often these subtleties, not providing the context of the IAEA report, or not putting in some of the doubts back in 2002, 2003 about the Iraqi WMD programs, that kind of slanting of the news does have the effect of altering how the American public views an issue.
The U.S. mainstream media have proved to be cheerleaders for war. Jeff Cohen was a senior producer of a popular TV show before the Iraq invasion. He says they were under pressure from their bosses to root for war because their owners benefited from it.
It was a constant pressure campaign to make sure that the pro-invasion voice was dominant.
Jeff Cohen says not much has changed in U.S. mainstream journalism since the Iraq invasion.
There's no doubt that the mainstream media are crucial in this idea of selling this idea that the U.S. is going to be in a perpetual war.
Media analysts say since the intervention in Libya, U.S. media have been instrumental in making Americans get used to the idea that Washington will continue to intervene militarily in foreign affairs.
I worked at Newsweek and as well as AP and other major U.S. news organizations, and what I saw, especially at a place like Newsweek, was this idea that the media was actually part of the establishment, that that the American people were to be guided more than even informed.
It seems most American media are so used to talking wars that when after a decade of inconclusive war in Afghanistan, the White House announced the necessity to negotiate with the Taliban.
You have to have a political solution at some point.
The message and the words political solution came out as somewhat alien.
Peace talks with the Taliban. It's come to this. Tell us more about these proposed peace talks, Ed. That may sound a little weird to some of our viewers.
It seems that words political solution don't belong in the U.S. media vocabulary. Two main reasons. One, boring. And second, some very powerful people are behind a kind of trigger-happy pro-war journalism. Too many times in history, the media did the bidding of war profiteers. We can go back more than 100 years and look at how the American public was primed for war with Spain over Cuba. Media tycoon William Randolph Hearst falsely hyped up the story that the Spanish sunk an American ship, when in fact it sunk because of a coal bunker explosion. It was then that Hearst told his illustrator in Havana, "You furnish the pictures and I'll furnish the war." More than 100 years on, the phrase still sounds relevant, but it doesn't have to be that way. And some argue political solution, although not popular words in the media vocabulary, is better than war and death. I'm Gani Chichikan reporting from Washington, RT.